Hi everyone, it's Nicole Spohr here today with some Stenciled Sun Backgrounds cards featuring add-ons from the May 2020 Hero Arts My Monthly Hero release. These cards feature the beautiful sun background stencil, the airplane fancy die, the cloudy sky scene dies, the MAILBOX fancy die, and then some other Hero Arts greetings from previously released stamp sets that I thought worked with my scenes. What I love about these cards is the beautiful sun stencil is the background focal point, and then we're adding some really fun die cuts on top to create some amazing scenes. I love the dies this month. On the back of the sun background stencil, I applied a thin coat of pixie spray to hold it down in place. What I love about this amazing stencil is there's also the circular piece, so you can mask off the center, which is what I'm going to do to start out. I have sped up this part of the video a little bit just to kind of move it along. I'm using lots of Hero Hues reactive inks with this beautiful stencil, and I'm using a little purple repositionable tape to mask off about 3 rays at a time. I think when I got to the end there were only 2 left, but I don't think it's that noticeable. I did try to use a couple of shades per color family. So we've got Taffy and Fruit Punch, so my pink and my red, Creamsicle, then we're going to have the lemon color here next, that's Lemon Drop. Then we're going to move on to the greens with Key Lime Fizz and Green Apple. I tried to concentrate the darkest part of the color near the center of the sun and then lighten it as I got towards the outer edge of the background. This panel measures 4 by 5 or 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches, so it's A2 sized and will fit the entire front of the panel. This is Pool, and then we'll have Blue Raspberry next. So a couple shades for the aqua color. Then we'll do Splash for our more traditional blue. This is a rainbow background for sure. I wanted this to be a bold background. And then we're going to have Thistle and Grape Slush as our remaining 2 colors. I didn't use Blue Hawaii on this card, but I will use it on the next background because I'm going to eliminate a couple colors and do a little bit different rainbow. You can do your backgrounds in any color. You could do them in one color. You know, you could do rainbow like this. You could do other color combinations. It's just so much fun. Sun backgrounds are one of my very, very favorites as far as stencils go. I did remove the centerpiece then and ink it up with the Lemon Drop. And then I'm going to just take my blending brush that I haven't added any additional ink to and just kind of pull that color out from the center. Then I'm going to go back and take my brushes. Again, I'm not adding extra ink, and I'm going to very, very lightly add color over the top to fill in any of the white spaces of the background and to kind of soften those rays a little bit. This is one of my favorite things to do with those blending brushes. They still have a little bit of ink on them, and that lighter effect works fantastic. Then I'm going to spritz it with water from a distress sprayer and let that air dry. These are reactive inks, and so they do react with the water, leaving some great little water droplet areas. We're going to take the Cloudy Sky Scene dies, and this is an amazing set. You're getting 2 cloud borders, 3 different sun shapes, and some birds in this set. I'm going to use the cloudy borders and the birds for my card today. What I especially love is these cloud borders are so much different than anything else I've seen out in the stores. I think they're really unique. I absolutely love these. I love a good cloud border. I use them a lot in scene building, and so I can see using these a lot for many different cards. I die cut one from vellum cardstock, or vellum paper, pardon me, and then another border from smooth white cardstock. And I'm using, again, a little repositionable tape to hold that die in place to die cut it. Now, my vellum border is a little higher than I actually think I'm going to use, so I will trim that down. I often will err on the side of caution, and I die cut a 4¼ inch wide panel with those borders, and then it makes it easy to trim that down later on. So I'm kind of playing around with the airplane die and the sentiment that I want to use, figuring out my placement. Then I die cut the airplane fancy die from smooth white cardstock, and I'm going to start coloring it in with Copic markers. It has fantastic stitching detail, all kinds of really awesome little details on this plane. So I took my time and colored this in just like you would a stamped image, which is really fun. The colors I'm using are B23, 24, 26, and then BG 45 and 49 for the more aqua color that I'll use here in a minute. I kept using these colors over and over until I got the right effect that I was looking for in this card, or in this image, I guess I should say. You could color this little airplane in with anything. I also want to mention that in the kit, the My Monthly Hero kit this month, there is an airplane image. So if you would rather use a stamped image, you could do that as well. Everything works together so beautifully. I can't get over the dies this month. They are phenomenal. And if you guys follow me already, you know that I am a huge die cut fan anyway. I love finding unique ways to use them in my card making, and I think the dies this month are just absolutely incredible. So here's that more aqua color combination that I said I was using, and I'm just going to color in other parts of the plane with this. And then I'll go back and use my darker blue color combination. I mostly was looking for some colors that would complement the colors of the rays that I'm using in my background. So I kind of pulled color combinations from that. You could use any of your favorite coloring mediums, any kind of markers or colored pencils or whatever it is, watercolors. Whatever your favorite coloring medium is, there are so many options to color in these cute little die cuts. For the windshield, I'm going to go with some much lighter colors with B0000 and B01 to kind of give it the look of glass. In addition to that, once I have this entire thing colored and added to my card, I will be going in with glossy accents and covering the windshield and a couple of other things on the plane to give them a glossy finish. Our 32 and 35 are the colors I used for the propeller there and the center of the wheel, and the wheel itself is C5 and C8. Now that my little airplane has completely come to life, I am going to go ahead and stamp my sentiment on the sun. I'm using the Misty to get that lined up exactly. We're going to use a powder tool to make sure that the sentiment, hopefully the embossing powder only sticks to the sentiment. I did let this dry, and I let this background actually dry overnight. You wouldn't have to let it dry that long, and you can definitely hit it with a heat tool if you want to get it to dry quicker. And then I'm going to stamp with the embossing and watermark ink and heat emboss with Hero Art's white embossing powder. This sentiment is from the Tulip Field Color Layering Scape stamp set. What I loved about this is the sentiment is "You Make My Heart Soar." I definitely kind of shopped my Hero Art stash when looking for sentiments that I thought would work with the dies I'm using today, and you're going to see that in the second card as well. I popped up my airplane with foam adhesive all over the back to really make it set apart from the background. The Darling Birds from the Cloudy Sky scene were die cut from Hero Hue's pitch black cardstock, and I'm using some craft tweezers and just little dabs of precision glue to get those birds in place. And those are going to finish off our scene. We will adhere this entire panel then to a white top fold card base. And then, as I mentioned, the last thing we're going to do is take glossy accents and add that to the windshield, propeller, and the wheel. For my second background, I'm going to do much the same as the first. I just used a few less colors, and I added in an additional color. So a color combination I've been loving a lot for rainbows lately is kind of like reds, oranges, yellows, and blues. So we're going to use Fruit Punch, Creamsicle, Lemon Drop, Splash, and Blue Raspberry Blue Hawaii, pardon me, for this card today. So we've got red, orange, yellow. I did not have to add another layer of pixie spray to the back of my stencil. If it does lose a little bit of its stickiness, you can always add some additional if you need to. Here's that splash. And then we're going to grab our Blue Hawaii ink. And then I'm going to repeat this all the way around. Again, there's going to be an area kind of near the end where I have to color 4 rays instead of 3. I don't think it's that terribly noticeable, especially once you go back in and add a little additional color when we remove the stencil. Now I will be flipping this background upside down, so it's actually not going to be in this position. I liked it better with the sun a little bit lower, just how it worked for this particular card. Let's finish inking this up. Now the center I inked with a combination of Creamsicle and Lemon Drop just to give it a little bit more of an orangey flare, I guess. And then we will go back in with our blending brushes and go over all those rays. I like the soft look, and I like kind of removing the white part from where the stencil goes so that it just gives a fuller background, but you definitely don't have to. So here I'm adding a little orange, and then we're going to add a lot more Lemon Drop. And then when we remove the outer part of the stencil, we're going to pull out a little bit more of that yellow. I think it's a huge difference. You can see here that with the white, how it looks, and then as I start to add some of that color in with the blending brushes, what a difference that makes. So I kind of went over the orange areas, over the yellow areas, over the red. And where I'm kind of going in with the blue and it touches the yellow, we're getting little touches of green, even though we didn't use green, which I really like. Then I'm going to spritz this again with water from a distress sprayer and let this completely dry. This background I'm going to trim down to 4 by 5 1/4 inches, which will leave a nice white border all the way around the perimeter of the card. We are using the US MAILBOX Fancy Die for this card, and it comes with the adorable mailbox. Again, lots of detail, just like the airplane, and 3 different options for letters, which you can kind of see in the upper part of the screen. We're going to color the mailbox first with our blue markers. So these are the same colors I used for the majority of the airplane, B23, 24, and 26. And then I will be adding in some cool gray colors with C5 and C8 to some additional areas of the mailbox. The mailbox is going to remain fairly simple. I did kind of go over areas multiple times, adding in shading and all of that good stuff, but it's going to be simple. The more pop of color for this, obviously our background has lots of color, and then the letters we're going to have sticking out of the mailbox drawer. And we're going to keep our sentiment super simple with a Sending Love sentiment from the All My Heart Peekaboo Parts stamp set from Hero Arts. So I went through my Hero Arts stash to find a sentiment that would work as far as sending mail and something that was small enough to fit on the mailbox. So that was really my goal there. I had 2 main goals: something that would work with a mailbox and something that would fit on the mailbox, which it is a pretty nice big area, but I love that these sentiments, because they're part of the Peekaboo series, work to fit inside the little Peekaboo windows, so they're kind of sized fantastic to fit on other things, and in this case that worked fantastic. I stamped that with the embossing and watermark ink, and I'm heat embossing this also with Hero Arts white embossing powder. Then we're going to move on to our letters, coloring these in with lots of colors of Copic markers. We've got reds here. I did start a little bit on the peachier side, which I didn't particularly love. You'll see I darken this one up quite a bit as I go. I'll come back to it. And then we're going to have a pink letter, an aqua letter, a teal letter, and a yellow letter. I die cut the 3 letters and postcards to start with, and then I went back and die cut them again. I wanted a fuller mailbox and I wanted to have more colors shown in there, so I thought I would go back in and add a few more. So you'll see I start with the 3. I even put foam adhesive on the back of my mailbox, and then I decide that I definitely want more in there, so I'm going to tuck a few more little letters there into this darling little mailbox. This is a great substantial die, much like the airplane. It's really, really cute. And again, you can see how detailed it is. It's very, very fun. Adding in a little bit darker color red here just to darken that up. And then I didn't really like the yellow I had on part of this, even though I don't know that much of it gets seen, so I went over it with gray. Now on the back of my mailbox, I'm going to cover this with foam adhesive. I'm using a combination of some little skinny strips there for the legs of the mailbox and then foam adhesive squares. As I get towards the top, I'm going to halt, put my letters, tuck my letters into the mailbox, and then flip it over and add some foam adhesive. That's going to serve not only to adhere our mailbox to our card, but kind of hold those letters in place. We can remove our foam adhesive squares and strips, the backing paper from all of those. And then we're going to position this in the center of the card. You can see that I have flipped the sun ray kind of more what I would consider upside down, but I really like it here. And then I decided let's color a couple more. So we've got some yellow with Y11 and Y08. And then we're going to do a dark teal with BG 45 and 49. And then we're going to tuck these into the mailbox as well. I'll use a little precision glue to glue down anything that needs it. I originally kind of thought I would tuck this underneath, down near the base of the mailbox. And I ended up not liking that. I think it really gets lost into the design. I try to leave in as much of those design decisions in my videos as possible so you can kind of see the progression of how I put things together. It is not always a perfect, step 1, step 2, step 3. I do a lot of moving things around and deciding, or maybe deciding that wasn't the right color, how can I fix that, or whatever it might be. So I often try to leave those in so you guys can kind of get an idea of my design process as well as the creation of the card. Okay, so there's our cute little teal envelope, and again, definitely does not look awesome over there at the side. It's going to look so much better tucked into the mailbox up here at the top. So we're going to kind of position, because I've already adhered this to my card, so I'm going to position these, and I thought about maybe adding another one, and I opted not to. I'm going to remove one of those foam adhesive squares really quick. Just kind of playing around with this, seeing what I want to do. And then we're just going to I haven't glued this yellow one down at all. I was just kind of testing it out. And I really like the yellow in that little pop of yellow up above, so that's what we're going to do with that. Now that once I have those positioned where I want them to go, I'm going to again use a little precision glue to glue those down. To help hold everything down in place, I did take my craft tweezers and kind of just pinched those over that while the liquid glue was drying. And even some of the letters and note cards that I put in there to start with, I hadn't completely secured those. So this was a great opportunity to go ahead and secure everything perfectly before taking my panel and adhering it to a white top fold card base to finish this card. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for these 2 sun background stenciled cards featuring my monthly hero, Hero Arts May 2020 add-ons. The supplies I use to create my cards are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Here are a couple more cards featuring Hero Art stamps and dies that you might be interested in. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell to never miss a new card making video. Thank you so much for joining me today, and we'll catch you next time.